What's up, world? Uko here from Better Therapy Now, and welcome to part one, the discipline mindset. So, the first part is the psychology of discipline. And discipline is really founded by willpower and self control. So, willpower is your ability to resist short term gratification to achieve a long term goal. And then self control is your ability to regulate emotions, thoughts, and your behaviors so that they're in alignment with your values and your goals. So, studies show that willpower is a finite resource that you get every single day, but it's finite. You are going to run out of willpower during the day. So the goal here is to optimize on the willpower that you do have. Like, for example, for me, I have much more willpower in the morning than I do in the evening. So just doing something simple like putting my important task in the beginning of the day helps me optimize my willpower. Something that many people fail to do when it comes to willpower is learning how to rest and replenish themselves so that they can have a new kind of supply of willpower. Think of willpower as a resource that you get each day, as long as you are resting appropriately and learning how to develop certain practices or small changes in your life so that you can optimize that willpower. When it comes to the practice of willpower, it's important to understand how to conserve and then build willpower each day. Next is self-control. When it comes to self-control, oftentimes the emotions play too large of a role. The way to mitigate the role that emotions play is through habit formation, automatic responses to different stimuli or different situations in life. Developing habits are really just establishing some sort of operation in your life. You want to have a cue, a routine, and a reward. I think the book that explains this the most clearly is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. He talks about the cue, the routine, and also the reward, mostly in the frame of breaking bad habits. So this works with developing good habits and breaking bad habits. And sometimes you have to break a bad habit so that you can develop a good habit. A good example of this is writing a novel. Say you want to write a book or write a novel. For me, I've written my entire life. My cue for writing is just waking up early in the morning and coffee. Morning is my favorite time of the day. So that's when I'm in the best mood. That's when I have really the most energy. And the cue is just brewing a cup of coffee. The routine is writing, putting on, and it's kind of like a ritual for me. I put on my headphones, I open up my computer, I get out my journal, and then I put on music, and I have the same playlist every single day. Sometimes it changes a little bit, but it's basically the same playlist. And then I just start writing. And then the reward after that is eating breakfast. So there's a cue, the routine, and the reward, and it's just been automatic for several years now. And now I've written like 4 books. And this is going to be different for every single person. It's going to be very individualized, especially the cue and the reward, because everybody's life is different. A reward might be different for each person based on what you like and what you don't like. But the cue, routine, and reward becomes an operation that you don't really have to think about so much. So it's an automatic response to certain things, to certain stimuli, such as morning coffee or just being in the morning. It helps you take emotions out of the equation so that you're just operating, and it increases the likelihood that you'll be consistent over time. And that is the thing that really kills people when they're attempting to accomplish goals, is consistency. So in the first exercise, in the first worksheet, you're going to talk about what willpower and self-control really mean to you. And this might take you a while. I want you to think back on, when was willpower important? When did you have willpower? What were the conditions and what were the goals like? Do you feel like you have a sense of grit, and are you attracted to more challenging things? These are going to be very important questions to answer, and to answer honestly in your journey to developing this disciplined mindset. And then next, what role does discipline play in your life? Are you a disciplined person? Do you have routines? What do you think your cues are going to be? The more disciplined you already are, the less you really have to think about those cues, routine, and reward, and the less you'll have to think so hard about that operation. But if your emotions and your thoughts kind of get in the way of you accomplishing things, and you find it hard to be consistent over time, then that cue, routine, and reward will be very important for you. In order for this to work, you're going to have to be honest about where you are in terms of willpower and self-control. If your emotions get in the way of you being consistent, then it's important for you to state that and write that down so that you can look at it and think about it. Where has your willpower failed you? What sort of activities deplete your willpower? Understanding those patterns and those different situations that take your willpower away and like rob you of that resource are important to identify so that you can come up with a plan of action to be proactive so that you don't waste your resource of willpower. Next is identifying triggers. Triggers are going to be very important in the process of identifying your self-control, like when do you have self-control and when do you not have self-control, because triggers are very much linked to impulsive behavior. A trigger is an automatic thought, but usually it's a negative automatic thought that causes an unwanted behavior. When you're triggered, you have less control. So it's important to understand what sort of things trigger you. It may be a certain time of day. It may be being around certain people or in certain environments, but it is important to think back on a time when you wanted to have self-control or when you didn't have self-control and what caused that lack of self-control. And then kind of dig into, what were the emotions, what were the circumstances, and this will help you develop a plan to be proactive in terms of not falling victim to emotions, negative thought patterns, so that you can have the behaviors that you want to have to take you to where you want to go. After you do all this reflection about willpower and self-control, you're going to develop a habit loop. You're going to identify some sort of goal. It doesn't have to be some large goal. It could be something simple like lose 5 pounds or work out every day or whatever it is, but a habit loop. You're going to identify a cue that you think will work for you. You'll identify the routine. So maybe the routine is doing 10 sit-ups or whatever it is, and then the reward. And that reward and cue are going to be essential because it's going to be very unique to you. So feel free to brainstorm different cues and brainstorm different rewards, maybe a list of 10 or 20. And then over the next week, you can just try them out and see which one actually works. Don't expect to achieve a perfect and effective habit loop the first go around. That's why I say brainstorm different cues and different rewards, because you may think one thing works, but it might be counterproductive. Ultimately, the operation or the routine is also going to be important because that is directly leading to the goal that you want to achieve. Later on in the course, we'll talk about having purpose-driven mindset and establishing goals that are in line with your values. But in the beginning, think of just simple things or simple routines that you've tried to achieve in the past and that you want to achieve, and then develop habit loops for that so that you can get in the practice of achieving goals based off of habit loops. Your habits are linked to your actions, and your actions are ultimately going to be what takes you from where you are to where you want to go. Identify a habit and then monitor that habit from day to day and keep note of any changes. Next, we'll talk about visualization and how developing a very clear visualization will make it more likely that you will achieve purpose and achieve your goal.